So are you having the hardest time getting a ball python to eat a frozen thawed animal? Hey, you're not alone. Stick around this video and hopefully I got something that I've experimented and found an answer to that can actually help you too at a 70% success rate.
These brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. These brothers my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Paul with Reptiles, and I thank you so much for tuning in today. Man, look, everybody struggles with this subject, right? So it's all cute and fuzzy, like when you're going to buy the snake and then you get the snake home and you got the setup, you're doing everything right, and then all of a sudden you try to introduce that frozen thawed animal to your snake, and what does he or she do? They smell it, they look at it, but for whatever reason, they don't strike it. So, and it creates a dilemma. Now you've thawed out a frozen thawed rodent that you can't refreeze, and so you have to throw it away. So it's a waste. It's a 100% waste of life for the rodent. And I think that's important for me to say because I'm always about the well-being and care of all animals. I do know that there are animals like snakes that eat rodents and birds and things like that, but we don't ever want that to go to waste. So hopefully this video will discuss a 70% success rate with those pesky, picky ball pythons, right? So we all know that the ball pythons are some of the most finickiest, pickiest eaters in the reptile world. But that should not stop you from being able to care for your ball python as well as feed your ball python. But it could be the major hurdle for you, especially if you never want to feed live or you want to convert your animal over from live to frozen thawed. So I've been trying this method, right? So it's a lot of different things, but I've been trying this method and I've received a 70% conversion rate from my live animals over to frozen thawed. So the ones that were eating frozen thawed, they just benefit more from this because I use this with all of the animals. It's kind of hard to do different methods when you're feeding frozen thawed. It's all or none, right? So whatever works for the more picky eaters definitely will work for the ones that are readily taking frozen thawed. So if you're watching this video, you're probably on the other side of my animals not eating, right? Am I right? So in this video, what I will discuss is why ball pythons are picky eaters to begin with, because I think that's important to note when you're trying to feed frozen thaweds, why frozen thawed is a better option than live, as well as the vacuum sealer method that I use for my frozen thawed, just to kind of let you know. If you want to skip ahead, you can do that. If you know all the other things that I'm talking about before, that's why I put the chapters. And then lastly, how much money this will save you. And I'm going to use the example of feeding 10 ball pythons, because I think if we think of it in tens, then we can actually budget it better. If I keep it at 10, then I think that the majority of people that are having issues with this, like you, if you're watching this video, can equate this to a real number value per animal per week if you want, or even per year. So why are ball pythons picky eaters to begin with when it comes to frozen thawed? So let's think about Western Africa, where ball pythons come from, and or closer to the center if you think of the different morphs and things like that or whatever, but pretty much from central Western to Western Africa is where the ball python's from. It is a sausage without legs, right? If it's out and it's exposed, which makes it an ambush predator in its native habitat. So as an ambush predator, it can only afford to spend energy trying to strike things that are the right size, the right temperature, and have the right smell. So if we're thinking about this as a way that we're trying to feed these animals, which have been heavily ingrained with genetics over millions of years, to try to think that we can feed a frozen thawed is kind of crazy to begin with, to even think that we can get a snake to eat an animal that's already dead. As you're thinking about this and we're offering a frozen thawed, is it the right scent? Is it the right temperature? And is it the right size? So that's a lot for a snake, because you got to remember the ball python's eyesight isn't that great either. So they're using their scent glands and their eyesight to kind of line things up and see if it's the right size, because they don't want to strike a hot rock. They don't want to strike an animal that can turn around and eat them. So it's kind of a more risky thing. And I think that's from just survival of the fittest, that the amount of variability that we have in ball pythons is where it is now because of the same reasoning. They just don't take chances to eat things that are not 100% safe or not 100% handleable by them. Did I say that right? Handleable? Handleable. If you're struggling to get your ball python to switch from live to frozen thawed, it's because of either probably one or two things. Like, you're not getting something that's overly big, right? So it's more than likely because of it being too wet or the smell. And I think when you look at your animals and you're offering a frozen thawed, if it's the right temperature, because I don't think temperature is an issue for most people. We know that if we don't heat it up enough, then the animal won't take it. And we know that if we overheat it, that the rodent will burst and it'll be too hot for the snake. So that's not the matter. So too wet or the smell. And I feel like if you get these things right, and hopefully your numbers will be higher than mine, but I'm just giving you realistic numbers over 6 months, that I got a 70% conversion of my live animals. Now, all of my live animals did not go to frozen thawed, and I don't think they will, but it was worth a shot. And I'll continue to try to convert them over from live to frozen thawed. Why do we even want to feed frozen thawed to begin with? Well, I mean, because before, like when I first started keeping reptiles, people weren't feeding frozen thawed. They were either getting live and they were doing pre-killed and stuff like that. So there really wasn't a frozen rodent supplier. There's basically 4 benefits that you will have and your snake will have by feeding frozen thawed. For one, it's safer. There's millions, there's not millions, but there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different scenarios where rodents have turned the tables on a snake and actually predated upon the snake, whether it was a fight or flight, or if it was just the rodent being hungry, but they have actually injured or killed the animals that were supposed to be feeding on them. So it's safer for the snake. It's more convenient to feed frozen thawed than live. And I know that this video is pretty much for people that aren't breeding their own rodents, but even with that, it's more convenient to feed frozen thawed than it is live, because for one, you're going to get rid of, by freezing the animal, you're going to kill all of the parasites. 2, you don't have to worry about an animal jumping out and running around or getting loose. 3, you don't have to feed that animal. So if you don't have a big collection, then breeding rodents probably isn't the thing. So if you only have 10 snakes or 20 snakes, for you to breed your own rodents, you can, because I know people that do, and it's cost effective, but that's another added chore for you to take care of another animal or group of animals that you have to care for on top of the snakes or the other reptiles that you're feeding the rodents to. And it's more cost effective. So normally we go to the pet store and we buy rodents, right? But we're not buying them in bulk. You can buy in bulk, and the more you buy, the more you're able to store in your freezer, the better you can do. And I would say don't store them with your food, store them in a separate deep freezer that's just for the rodents. But that, if you can't, whatever works for you, works for you. That's just not what I would do, but hey, whatever works, rock it. There's also ethical considerations of feeding the live rodents to begin with. Some people just don't like to do it. I myself just don't really like feeding live rodents, even though in a lot of the cases I have to. So now for 30% of my animals, they still get live animals, but that number is so small that I'll just continue to try to convert them over to frozen thawed. That's all I can say about that. I really don't like feeding live. So now let's get into the method. It's called the vacuum sealer thawed method, is what I've kind of come up with, because I had 3 different groups. I had a soak in water group, just take the rodent, soak it in hot bath water. Then I had a group number 2 that was under a heat lamp. And then I had the group that I just was like, well, even though I buy these frozen thawed rodents in bulk, I'm going to put them in groups of 3 in vacuum sealer bags, or groups of 4 in vacuum sealer bags. I'll seal it, and then I will keep them frozen like that for one. And then I will put them in the water, right, and thaw them out inside of the sealed vacuum sealer bag. So I think it's best if I just show you the process. The key to this whole thing is to package in small amounts and keep them warm and dry. So as I'm going to show you two examples of animals that normally eat live animals. The first one is a pastel phantom Huffman head clown. Successful strike, and I think that the animal was picking up on a heat signature and the scent. It wasn't wet, it wasn't anything else. This is our yellow-bellied pie girl, and this is a small rat that I'm feeding her. Same thing, live prey item eater. Live prey item eater. This is so funny. Taking her a while. Whoa. There she go. So now you've seen how I actually do it. And I feel like this more closely mimics what the ball python's natural behavior is, because, hey, the fact that we even get them to eat something that's already dead is just astonishing to me. But in doing this, there are some things that you got to look out for. So be careful of who you get your rodents from, because if you get rodents that smell like urine, snakes don't eat those type of animals in the wild, because more than likely an animal that smells like urine or feces or any type of odor that's just not clean rodent is probably sick. And so if a ball python smells that, whether it's a live rodent or if it's a frozen thawed, they might be really hesitant because they are thinking this is not going to be good for me. Also, if the animal is wet. So that's one of the things that you got to really be conscious of who you're getting your frozen thawed rodents from, because you want them to be as good as they can be. So I found that using this method mimics what a ball python's natural behavior would be as an ambush predator. So they're using their three senses, or the three things that I think are really important. So they're using scent, they're using heat, and they're using size. So if you can get that frozen thawed rodent, especially with this vacuum sealer method, to actually mimic that, because now you're heating up the rodent to a optimal temperature, 100 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the right size, and it has a very good smell, scent like a live rodent. That's all that I feel like you need to get that ball python to strike and constrict that rodent. And see, that's what we are trying to do, because the animals aren't eating live animals when they're alive. They only eat them after they've, in a sense, killed them. So afterwards, that animal, the temperature can start dropping, and that animal should still eat. The ball python should still eat. This method with the frozen thawed vacuum sealer method, man, it really has changed the game for me. And this is the first week that I have not had to go and buy live rodents. I mean, this is crazy. I haven't had to go and buy any live rodents. The money part is real. And this is the last point that I wanted to discuss. Typically, a small rat's going to cost you, and I'm using a small rat, and it's anything between a weaned rat and a small rat, will cost you anywhere from $3.50 to $5. So if you're feeding 10 snakes, you're going to spend either $35 to $50 a week, and that equates to a lot of money. It is going to be $1,820 to $2,600 a year just for those 10 snakes if you just fed live. Now, that's a lot of money. I mean, there's no way to get around it, but you know, I'm not going to say that that's not worth it, because people with dogs, they spend that same amount of money in vet and dog food and all these other things. You only having to buy basically food once you get your housing set up, right? So $1,800 to $2,600. Now, if you feed frozen thawed for the same number of animals, say 10 snakes, you're looking at about $2 a rodent to feed that frozen thawed small rat or weaned rat. And so that will equal $1,040. So if you look at the savings that you would have, I think that is worth the frozen thawed. I mean, at least on your pocketbook. Now, we already talked about the benefits of feeding frozen thawed, but when it comes to you actually saving money, I think that's going to be good. Like I said before, I'm never going to try to give you advice that will cost you more money. I'm only going to offer you advice that saves you money. That $780 to $1,560 savings, what could you do with that? And that's just for 10 snakes. So if you have more than that, like so, last year I know that we spent over $3,500 on rodents. like live rodents. Now, we spent a good amount on Frozen-Thawed, but we have so many Frozen-Thawed rodents and we rotate them. So I feel like that's a better buy. Plus, I'm not spending gas to go there. I'm not spending time to go and get the live rodents. And I'm not paying for toll fees. Now, we only have we have two real reptile stores in the DFW Metroplex, right? The one I go to is DFW Reptarian. I just go there because I'm more familiar with it at this point. I used to go to the Serpentarium, and no knock on them, but it's just really inconvenient for me to go there because they're off of the tollway, and I don't want to get stuck in even more traffic commuting from Fort Worth all the way to the other side of Dallas. So, that's pretty much what I've tried. If you're struggling with feeding Frozen-Thaweds, I want you to try this method and let me know what the success rate was for you. I'm pretty sure that someone else would read the comments and they would see if it's worth them trying. Look for other methods as well. I always encourage you to look for other methods. But if this is something that helped you, please go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you can get more content like this that is catered for you as a pet keeper, a new ball python owner, or a new breeder. Those are the people that I'm talking to, and I just hope that this helps. And if nothing else, guys, hey, enjoy that time that you spend with your reptiles and cherish that time that you have with your families. Thank you.